Hi, here we are. I'm so excited again. I know I say that a lot, but this story in particular is one I know you're going to love. It's called The Name Jar. And I was just reading about the author. It's probably a bit autobiographical, but what I did read about her, which I found really exciting, her name is Yangsook Choi, and she grew up in Korea, and she loved, when she was a little girl, telling her grandma scary stories. And the grandma character in this story is very important. And of course, that's another reason to love this story and the message that it gives all of us. So, a thought, as the title implies, name and jar, we could do a couple of things together. But the first thing I would like to introduce you to is the puppet we're going to use today. We have two. The setting, of course, is our jar, a very important piece. And jars are cool for a variety of reasons. One, you can put stuff in them. My grandma Libby, she used to make all sorts of things and can them. These were used for canning. They have seal type lids, very popular, especially in the last couple of years. And but my grandma was so strong, she would make pickles and then seal the jar with her strong arms. And I don't remember ever opening the jars and eating them, so she was that strong. So I do advise you to get a grandma like my grandma Libby, but uh, figure out a different way to get in them because pickles, I'm told, were very, very good. So this is could be one of our characters. We're going to put things in the name jar, but we can also make a puppet out of our jar. And once we make the puppet, we turn it upside down. And so I thought I'd give her a face so I could have a character for our story. So here we go. We're going to do this quick and easy. And then we're going to start our story. Let me tell you a little bit about our story. It's about a little girl who is in a new country, a new school, and a new culture. That's a lot of new. And seeing as how where I live, which is in the Midwest, school is starting. Some schools have already started, but school across the street from my house is starting on Wednesday. And there will be kids just like our friend, whose name I will introduce you to because it's a big part of our story, but let's pretend she had my name. So this is what I did. I took a little square of paper like this. It's a little rectangular. And for those of you who are listening to our story and not seeing it, you can go and see it a different time. It will be always on the Mentor Project Facebook page, and it will be on YouTube. But for now, I made a circle. Well, actually, what I made was a scoop of ice cream with a cherry on the top. And there is the fold. I folded it over. There we go. Folding it over again so you can see. Making sure not to cut the fold part. And then I did a scoop of ice cream with a cherry on the top. Why, you may ask? So when I open it up, I have a face, right? This is going to be our heroine's face. And then I'm going to cut a little slit here at the bottom of her ear. So if you take your finger and cross over their face, the bottom of your nose and the bottom of your ear are on the same line. Okay, I made a little slit right there, showing you. Now you're probably saying, what's she doing that for? Well, she's doing that so that when she cuts up from the bottom on that fold, what used to be the fold, and then pushes it together, our heroine has a nose. Now, if you have ever eaten anything from my grandma, for example, she used a lot of garlic. You needed that nose to smell the garlic. So now we have, what do we have, ladies and gentlemen? We have a nose. We have two ears. You can even give that a little bit more of a dimension by folding that ear. And then we're going to take just a marker and give her, our character, some eyes. And yep, some eyes. Nice, beautiful eyes. Big old eyes we'll give her. And, oh yeah, eyebrows. she has eyebrows. Oh, I think you're going to like her. See that? We're going to give her 2 eyebrows, 1 over each eye. And then the cover of our book, she has a really nice smile. So I'm going to give her a smile too. Yep. So what you thinking? 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Now, here is the cover of our book by Yangsook Choi. And she has black hair, kind of like mine used to be. She doesn't have any gray in it yet, which is understandable. She's probably 6 years old in the story, maybe a little older. It's hard to tell. We're going to take a black piece of paper. I'm going to just cut some stripes. So here's what I recommend to you. Be brave, be bold, which reminds me, I'm assuming everyone out there has a name, right? Well, my name is Marilyn, so I looked it up. Now, my name in Hebrew is Miriam, and that was the name I was given, Miriam. So I looked up Miriam. Interesting. Oh, maybe not to you, but certainly to me, is that Miriam has a bunch of different meanings. And that kind of suits everyone's personality. Some days you're feeling one way, and some days you're feeling another way. Now, Miriam from the Egyptian root means beloved, like that one. Sometimes I feel that way. And then it also means rebellious, if you ever read about Miriam, the character in the Bible, in the Torah. And it also means a sea of bitterness. So I've decided to choose one of those. I kind of like rebellious because that can be used for good things, right? Good causes. I really like beloved. Really, I thought you might like that too. So that's what my name means. So if you do not know what your name means, or even cooler, maybe you were named after somebody. Lots of times, parents, or parents to be, I would say, think about that name for a very long time. What would we call our kiddo? So, oh, I just made her some bangs. I think you're going to like it. Well, I know that not only was I named Beloved and a little bit rebellious, but I also know that I was named for a great grandma that I never met. And her name was Mary. But it probably wasn't really Mary. It was probably Miriam. So that's what they called me. And that's who I am today. I've had the name for a bit of a time. I like it most of the time. Not all the time, mind you. Because sometimes people don't know how to pronounce it. And that is a great way to enter the name jar story. All right. This is what I did for our girl. And if you don't like what you've done, you know what's really cool with paper? You can give her a haircut. Because this hair is way too big for my little puppet friend. There she goes. A little bit better. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to give the jar, put it right in the jar for her body. And then I can tell you this story. I'm going to be pretty honest with you. I like to be that here, especially in the Mentor Project where we like to teach. I am going to read parts of our story because I don't want to mess it up. And then I'm going to also tell it to you. So here she is. She's a puppet because I get to move her around. You could give her some arms. You could. Then she could hug you. And I'm going to keep her here. I'm going to show you one other. Well, I'm going to show you that at the end. That's what I'm going to do. I've taken myself some notes. Okay? And why did I do that? I've taken myself notes because I love this story. And again, I don't want to read it to you because I think telling it is better. But I do happen to know that others have read this book on the internet. And so you can hear it as well. I strongly recommend you find it. From the library, it was given an award by the Chicago Public Libraries, this book, The Name Jar. So let me get ready to tell it to you. Here we go. I'm going to pretend this is a bus. Put my hand Through the school bus window, Unhei looked out at all the strange buildings and houses on her way to her new school. It was her first day at a new school in a new country. She was nervous and she was excited. Which took over the other? She fingered a little block of wood that she kept in a pouch that her grandma gave her when she was leaving Korea, the country she came from. She said to Grandma, "What is it?" And Grandma said, "It's your name." Grandma had had a stamp made on a block of wood with Yunhei's name carved out of it. She said, "Whenever you want to think about me, put some ink on your stamp and put it on the paper, and know that I, on the other side of the world, am thinking about you as you are thinking about me." Unhei took that note with her everywhere. It was in her pocket. At home, it was on her dresser. She liked to remember her grandma. Now, when she got to while riding on the bus, one little boy with curly hair said to her, "Oh, hi, you're the new kid." She said, "Yes." He said, "What's your name?" And she told him. She said her name in a very soft voice was Unhei. "What?" He said, "Uh-huh. What kind of a name is uh-huh?" And that's how it went. Oh, she could hardly wait for the bus to stop. All the kids were saying her name and mispronouncing it. So she went right to her room. Fortunately, all the other kids from the bus went different ways. When she got to the room, her teacher said, "Oh, there is our new student. Welcome to school today." She looked down at her shoes. "And would you like to tell everyone your name?" Yune said no. All the kids were a little surprised. "You don't have a name?" "I thought I would choose a new one." "Oh, well," her teacher was very, very wise and thought, "Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a jar and everyone will write their name on a piece of paper and put it into the jar?" And so they all did. Everybody wrote their name on a piece of paper, put it into a jar. Put that right here so you can see. Okay? Fabulous. Now, Yunhei then decided she would start out by picking one out. So she picked one out and she said, "Dolores. I don't look like a Dolores." Well, she went through some of the names and then the bell rang and school was over for the day. She got on the bus and got home. When she got home, her mom said, "How was your day today, Unhei?" And Unhei said, "It's okay." "What's the matter?" "Well, I'm thinking of changing my name." "What? You have a beautiful name." "Well, I know, but nobody can pronounce it, and I'm afraid I won't make any friends." "Oh, Unhei, that name was given to you by the name master." Brief interruption. In Korea, apparently, they have someone called the name master, and before a child is born, you go and consult with the name master to give you the perfect name. Turns out that Unhei, her mother told her, your name means grace. Oh, well, Unhei didn't know that, but she thanked, but still, it was a very difficult name to pronounce for the other kids, even though she was quite used to it. That night, while brushing her teeth, she decided to practice with her names. But that didn't sound very good. So she didn't. She went back to school and they started all over again with the name jar. She still couldn't find a name. After school that day, she and her mom went shopping. They went to one store owned by Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim made the best kimchi. No coincidence. And it always made Yunhei feel really good to go into that store because it reminded her of home and of her grandma. That day it was raining, and Yunhei said to herself, "It's raining here just like it rains at home in Korea. And so she got through her days fine. She still had not yet selected a name. She thought about it and thought about it. Finally, one day, she met her new friend, Joey. And he said, "Have you picked out a name yet?" And she said, "Not yet." Said Joey. So Joey went home that night. He saw that Unhei had come out of Mr. Kim's shop. And when she had left, the very next day, Joey apparently went to visit Mr. Kim. When Unhei got to school the next day, she discovered that the name jar was gone. They looked everywhere for the name jar, but it didn't matter by then because Unhei had discovered that her name was a good name. And she decided that she would ask all of her friends if their names had meanings too. Well, of course, her new friend Miriam told her all about her name and that she was named after her grandma, which made Unhei feel very happy. Because when she thought about her grandma giving her her name stamp, she decided that she needed to show all of her new friends. So she took that little name stamp in its red pouch and opened it up and put a stamp. And she said, "When I miss my grandma, sometimes I take my stamp and I put it all over a piece of paper. And that reminds me of her. And that makes me happy." But my name, Unhei, means grace, full of grace and comfort. Unhei was given to me by the name master. So I think you should all figure out what your names mean as well. Or you could ask someone. In the meantime, Joey was smiling big time. And that day after school, when Unhei had announced to her mother that she had taught all of her friends how to pronounce her name, and they were doing a really good job with it, the doorbell rang. Mom answered the door and she said, "Unhei, your friend is here." And there stood her friend, Joey. Joey was carrying the name jar. Unhei said, "Where did you have that?" He said, "I hid it because I wanted you to use your name. It's a beautiful name. And besides, I have something to tell you." "What?" Unhei said to Joey. "I have a name too. Mr. Kim gave it to me." "What is it?" He says, "My new name is Chinku." And Unhei smiled. She said, "I know what that means. That means friend." And so it is. Joey, Chinku, and Unhei were friends for the rest of their school days together. That little stamp that her grandma made with her name in Korean still sits in the little pouch, and Unhei holds it. It gives her comfort, and it makes her remember her grandma. My name is Marilyn Miriam. I plan to have a beloved day full of stories, and I'm hoping that you have a good day as well. I'd like to give a great big shout out thanks to the Mentor Project for helping us be friends today. I would also like to thank Jibby and Aiden, and Debbie and Tina. And I'd like to thank my friends from the Kaufman Family Foundation and Tri Braining Inc., who do such a good job to be my friend, my chinku. And I'm hoping that all of your days will help you live happily ever after. Okay, here she comes to say bye to you.